All right, let's dive into Bitcoin. I got to admit, when I first started looking into this whole Bitcoin thing, I was pretty intimidated.
Yeah.
It's like all this tech jargon, and it's kind of like, ooh, I don't even know where to begin. But
It can be a little overwhelming at first.
yeah, and then I started realizing that this is something that most of us are totally missing out on because we're so stuck in
Right.
old ways of thinking about money.
Absolutely. I mean, it really challenges the assumptions that we have about how finance works.
Exactly.
And those systems have been in place for so long.
Yeah.
It's understandable why people would be hesitant to even, question them.
So to get to the bottom of this whole Bitcoin thing, we're going straight to the source.
Okay.
The Bitcoin white paper by the mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the founding document for this whole movement.
It is, and like any good founding document, it lays out a vision for something radical and new.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is that Nakamoto isn't just proposing a technical solution. He's or she's or they are really questioning the fundamental nature of trust when it comes to money and power.
Okay, so the white paper talks about creating a peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
Yeah.
And the key here is that it operates without a central authority.
Right.
No banks, no government calling the shots.
Right. Exactly.
It's almost like going back to a barter system,
Yeah.
but with a digital twist.
Exactly. For centuries, we've relied on these institutions like banks and governments to issue currency, process transactions, and basically tell us what money's worth.
Yeah, okay.
Bitcoin is saying, what if we didn't need those institutions?
Okay, but how does that even work? I mean, doesn't that sound like a recipe for chaos?
Right.
Like, how do you prevent fraud
Yeah.
or ensure security without somebody being in charge?
Well, that's where the real beauty of Nakamoto's design comes in.
Right.
They combine some really clever cryptographic tools in a way that nobody had done before.
Oh.
And it creates this system that's both secure and decentralized.
Okay, so the white paper mentions things like digital signatures, timestamp servers, proof of work. And I'll be honest, those terms just kind of went over my head at first.
It's a lot to take in.
So can we break those down in a way that even I can understand?
Absolutely. So let's start with digital signatures.
Okay.
It's like, have you ever signed a document online?
Yeah.
You're often using a digital signature.
Oh,
it's like a unique code that only,
Right.
guaranteeing that it was actually you who signed it.
Okay.
Bitcoin uses a similar concept to verify transactions
Okay.
and make sure they're legitimate.
Got it. So instead of signing a check, I'm using a digital signature to authorize a Bitcoin transaction.
Exactly.
Okay, now what about those timestamp servers?
Oh, those are really cool. Imagine this giant public ledger
Okay.
that records every single Bitcoin transaction ever made.
Oh, wow.
Timestamp servers are like these really meticulous librarians.
Oh.
They verify the order of those transactions and make sure that everybody agrees on the history of Bitcoin.
So that prevents someone from going back and trying to rewrite history.
Exactly. You can't tamper with the ledger.
Wow, okay.
It's all out there in the open for everyone to see.
So it's like a public record.
Right.
But instead of being kept in some government building,
Yeah,
it's distributed across a network of computers.
exactly.
So no single entity controls it.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Good, good.
But what about this proof of work idea? That one sounds kind of intense.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets really interesting. Imagine a global game of capture the flag.
Okay.
Where the prize is being able to add a block of transactions to that Bitcoin ledger we were talking about.
Okay.
And the flag is hidden within a complex mathematical problem.
Wow.
This process is called mining,
Okay.
and it requires a massive amount of computing power to solve these problems.
So it's like a constant competition to secure the network.
Precisely. And because it takes so much effort to capture the flag, it makes it almost impossible for any one person or group to hijack the system.
Oh, okay.
This distributed nature is what makes Bitcoin so secure and resistant to censorship.
So now I'm starting to see why some people are so excited about this.
Right.
It's not just about the money itself. It's about the system.
Yeah.
It's about challenging the idea that we need these big centralized authorities to control everything.
Yeah, it's almost like a rebellion against the established financial order.
You got it.
I mean, there's a passage in the white paper where Nakamoto really lays into the traditional financial system.
Oh, yeah.
It's like saying, hey, we've been putting all our eggs in one basket for centuries.
Right.
Maybe it's time to find a more secure basket.
Right. Nakamoto argues that relying on these central authorities actually makes us more vulnerable.
Oh.
History is full of examples where centralized power has been abused.
Okay, so Bitcoin is suggesting a way to distribute that power.
Yes.
And create a system that's more resilient because it doesn't have that single point of failure.
That's the idea. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to unpack.
There is, and that's where it gets really interesting because we can start to connect Bitcoin to the bigger picture of what's happening in society.
Okay.
Yuval Noah Harari, in his book 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, talks about this very tension between centralized power and individual autonomy in the digital age.
All right. Well, we've laid some groundwork here. We've explored these core ideas behind Bitcoin and how it challenges the traditional financial system. But there's definitely more to explore.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially how it fits into those broader trends that Harari highlights.
We'll get into all of that after a quick break.
All right. Sounds good.
We'll be right back. You know, it's wild to think about how ingrained this traditional financial system is. Like, we're so used to banks and credit cards and, government-backed currencies.
Yeah.
That something like Bitcoin can feel totally alien.
It's true. We're like raised to trust these institutions, put your money in a bank, get a good credit score, rely on the government to keep everything stable.
Right. And for a long time, those systems worked. I mean, they brought stability, they facilitated global trade, but what Harari's pointing out is that the digital age is changing the game.
Yeah, he talks about how technology is concentrating power in the hands of a few tech giants and governments collecting tons of data on us, controlling access to information.
Right, and potentially influencing our decisions.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, could Bitcoin, even with it being decentralized, fall prey to those same forces, or could it offer like a different path?
Yeah, a way to regain some control.
It's almost like Bitcoin is this mirror to our anxieties about the digital age.
Interesting.
On one hand, we have these amazing advancements connecting us in new ways,
right,
creating new forms of value. But then on the other hand, there's this unease about who's really in control.
Yeah, and I think that's where the appeal of Bitcoin really comes in for a lot of people.
Okay.
It's not just about the money. It's about the potential for a more equitable and transparent system
where individuals have more control
over their own finances and their data.
Yeah, but let's be real. Not everyone is buying it.
Right. Bitcoin has plenty of critics.
Big time.
One of the biggest things I hear is the price volatility.
Yeah.
One day it's skyrocketing, the next it's plummeting. It's like
a roller coaster.
Makes it tough to trust it as a reliable store of value.
Right. It feels too unpredictable for a lot of people.
Plus, you can't really use it that many places. I can't exactly walk into the grocery store and buy milk with Bitcoin.
Not yet, at least.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem.
Yeah, businesses are hesitant to accept it until more people use it.
And people are hesitant to use it until more businesses accept it.
Exactly.
And then there's the whole environmental impact thing.
Right.
I mean, Bitcoin mining uses a ton of energy, right?
It does. That proof of work system, while it's great for security, it does require a lot of computing power.
So how do we balance that out?
Well, the Bitcoin community is aware of this. And they're actively working on finding solutions.
There's a lot of research going on into more energy-efficient mining methods.
Oh, wow.
Some people even argue that Bitcoin could push us towards renewable energy sources.
So it's not a simple issue.
Not at all.
There are trade-offs to consider, and we got to weigh the potential benefits against the impact on the planet.
It's like this giant social experiment playing out in real time.
Wow, it's forcing us to confront these huge questions about the future of money, technology, and power.
Exact.
And it's making us question some of our most basic assumptions about how the world works.
Right.
Do we stick with these centralized institutions, or do we explore new systems that might be more transparent and fair?
It's a choice we all have to make.
So what do you think? Are you comfortable with the control that banks and governments have over your finances?
Are you intrigued by the possibilities of something like Bitcoin, even with the challenges?
We want to hear your thoughts.
Because ultimately, Bitcoin is more than just a cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
It reflects how our relationship with technology, money, and power is evolving.
It's a reminder that we have choices to make.
About what kind of future we want.
And those choices will be shaped by the technologies we use and also the values we prioritize.
Do we value security and stability above all else?
Or are we willing to take some risks to have more freedom and autonomy?
Those are questions worth thinking about.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up this deep dive into Bitcoin, we'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, imagine a world where Bitcoin or something like it becomes the norm.
What would that do to the power structures we have now?
Would it lead to a more equal distribution of wealth and power?
Or would it just create new forms of inequality and control?
What do you think?
That's something for all of us to consider.
Absolutely. And we hope you'll continue to explore these topics and keep asking questions.
Because your voice and your choices really do matter.
That's right. Keep learning, keep diving deep, and as always, stay curious.
It's crazy to think we might be seeing like a total shift in how we think about money and value.
Yeah, it really does feel like those early days of the internet when nobody knew how much it would change things.
Exactly. We never really know how these two technologies are going to impact us.
And Bitcoin is definitely one of those technologies that has the potential to disrupt the way things work.
Yeah, and it's not just about the Bitcoin itself, right? It's those underlying ideas.
Right, those core principles of decentralization, transparency, individual empowerment.
It's starting to influence other areas too, right?
Absolutely. We're seeing these decentralized models popping up everywhere, like social networks,
Wow.
marketplaces, even ways to govern ourselves.
It's like that innovative energy from Bitcoin is spreading out.
Exactly. It's inspiring people to think differently about all sorts of things.
But like you said, it's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
There are going to be challenges and probably even some big failures along the way.
That's how it always goes with progress, right? You got to try things out.
Yeah.
Learn from the mistakes and keep improving.
It's so important to approach these new technologies with a good balance of curiosity and skepticism.
I totally agree. Being open to new possibilities, but also thinking critically about the risks.
It's about making sure that innovation ultimately benefits humanity.
Exactly. And that's where you, the listener, come in.
Okay.
The future of Bitcoin, the future of our digital world, it's not set in stone.
Right.
It's being shaped right now by the choices we make.
So keep learning, keep asking those tough questions.
Engage with these issues. They're complex, but they're important.
Because your voice and your choices matter.
You never know. You might be the one who comes up with the next groundbreaking idea.
That's it for our deep dive on Bitcoin. We hope this gave you a better understanding of this revolutionary technology.
Its potential impact and those big questions it raises about the future of money, power, and control in this digital age.
Thanks for joining us, and as always, stay curious.